Hey, this is Terry Jeanette with the Tapping Flamingo, and in today's video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the machines and tools that I use to make some of my jewelry creations. First off, I want to comment a little bit about the machines. My sister and I were having a discussion not long ago about, some people wondering why our creations are a little different. You can go to, the store, the clothing store, and buy things that are exactly alike. Those are usually done with machines. These are our machines, and some other extensions I have that I'll show you in a little bit that I use along with my machines. These, if you go over to my Tapping Flamingo Bling Etsy shop, you'll see that I describe my jewelry as unique, beachy, boho. Most of my stuff is kind of beachy, boho. It's all very unique, which is a good thing. That way you don't see yourself walking down the street. Now, sometimes you may want to have the same exact thing, like maybe if you're in a group or whatever, but not necessarily. I actually dance with a group. Locally here, we go around and dance at different venues, and we have costumes that we wear. And there's another lady along with myself that make jewelry, and a lot of the jewelry that we wear has been bought, but a lot of it is stuff that we've actually made. Here's an example. And we actually got together with the ladies and showed them how to make these. And so they're not exactly alike, but they're pretty much alike. I mean, the variations that we have, they're all using the same beads, but maybe just a little bit different order. I just got finished making everybody a necklace for a Christmas gift, and they're all pretty much the same. They're crocheted, and I had a little pendant. I could not find 10 pendants of the same, so they are a little different, and also the pendants are kind of a rock. They're from nature, and so they are a little different. But that's okay. It gives us a little bit of variety in life. All right, so now I would like to talk to you about not only these machines, but the tools I use with them. I'm going to start out with my things that I use to cut. Now, of course, scissors are great. And I have actually seen people use scissors to cut wire and stuff. Don't do that. You're going to ruin your scissors. Also, your work isn't going to look as nice. But scissors are good to use for things like these adjustable leather guitar string eternity bracelets that I've been making lately. Once I tie the knots, these sometimes are long and they're not even, so I need to trim them up. And scissors are the best thing for trimming the leather cording there. Something else that I've been doing recently is wiring crystals, and then I just put them on a hemp cord. Again, scissors. Once I tie it, scissors cut them nicely. Okay. But when you are actually doing a necklace like this that's beaded, and you're using beading wire, some beading wire actually looks a lot like fishing wire. It's kind of nylon. Others is actually a wire. But even with the fishing wire type stuff, you can cut it with scissors, but you're not going to get a clean cut, and you will have something sticking out of your bead tip that will scratch the back of your neck. And I will be the first one to admit that I have had that happen to me before, and it is not comfortable. So what do you use? I use these pliers. See how they're indented here? They kind of flat here. And when I use them to cut, I put them the flat part, not the concave part, but the flat part toward my work and clip that little piece of wire that's sticking out. And there's usually just a tiny bit. Sometimes I can get it really, really close and it's not sticking out, but I'll kind of feel it. And if there's something sticking out, I'll just take my nail, which I don't have much of, but I have enough, and I can just poke it in there, and then it's not scratching my neck anymore. So that's what these are for. If you're just starting out and you're not really working with, wire, I recommend getting these. But if you're going to be working with wire, you're going to need memory wire cutters. These are the memory wire bracelets. And if you use just regular cutters, you will damage them. Ask me how I know this. I should have gotten my regular pliers out that I used on memory wire to show you, but the sharp part, they have little nicks in them, and it just ruined my pliers. They're still okay, but they're very dull and they don't work as well. So I had to get me a new pair. So we have these cutters, scissors, memory wire cutters. Put them back. Okay. The other tools that I like to use are just regular pliers. You have needle nose pliers, flat nose pliers, bent nose pliers. I'll start out with the bent nose pliers. I have not always used bent nose pliers, but I have fallen in love with them recently. And it's because I've been making a lot of guitar string bracelets. And in order to get in some of these nooks and crannies, these, because they curve, can get in there sometimes. These are good to use for that too, but they don't really curve. And I find myself picking these up more and more. So these are really good for those hard to reach areas, as are these long skinny dudes. But the ones that I use mostly, well, these were my favorite pair until they broke the other day. As you notice, there's a spring in them that keeps them open. The spring to this one sprung. These are very old. I've had this set for well over 20 years, and it got to a point where they just got used too much and the spring broke in half, and they're still usable, but you really need something that's going to keep things open because it's just easier to work with. So this one, to open it, just believe me, you want something that's going to stay open. And this one doesn't have a spring in it. It has these little metal things that keep it open. But it's like if you're working on something, say you're going to be tucking in wires, if you're using a plier that can't stay open, you're continually having to adjust your hand to open it, and this is much easier to tuck. Okay, so those are just the regular pliers. Excuse me. The next thing that I want to talk about are round nose pliers. Now, when I first started making jewelry 20 some odd years ago, I didn't know that these existed. And whenever I was making anything round, like, for your earrings, you want these nice round shapes, I was using just regular pliers, which are rounded on the outside, but on the inside, they are flat. And so my circles weren't complete circles. They were kind of flat circles. And when I look at my work from way before, they don't look very nice. These are wonderful because they do allow you to make a very nice circle. These are more for like if you're going to make something that has a bail, you want a bigger circle. But I have found that I can just use these. I just go down a little bit further. That's how I actually wrapped this bail, was with these red pliers. These, maybe someday I will start grabbing them more, but right now I like to use my red round nose pliers. All right. And speaking of wire, I really like to work with wire. I have used them on my guitar strings, my crystals, all kinds of stuff. And sometimes when you're working with wire, it gets kinked or bent or crinkled. That's where these come in handy. You just take your crinkled wire, you stick it in here, and you just pull, and it'll smooth it back out for you. So these are really, really nice. These are for a split ring. Now let me show you something here. I got two different rings. We have a jump ring that, see if you can see the difference here. This actually goes around and around, where this just goes around once. And sorry, maybe I should put these on my lap. So if you're going to be opening this, it's very simple just to open it. But if you're going to open this, it's not that simple. See if you can see the, not focusing in, I'm sorry. But you need to get something like this that can actually split that ring for you. And then you can feed on your charm or, you know, whatever it is you want to feed on. I am still working on mastering these. I have a lot of hand issues. And so sometimes things don't work quite right with new things, and it takes me a little while to figure them out. But I will master it someday. These I don't use as often. They are for crimp beads. The beads that I use, my end beads that I use for my bracelets and necklaces, I like to use the clamshells because I just think it looks a lot more professional and neater than the crimp beads. But I did buy these because sometimes I use a crimp bead. That's what these are. And then a file. Sometimes I'll need a file. Maybe when I'm wrapping something and it's not flat, or maybe I need it pointed, I can shape it into the shape I need. I know the other day I was wrapping one of these. In fact, I think it was this one, and it had a kind of a roughness to it. And so I just took this just tiny little bit file, and it smoothed it out very nicely. I don't use them a lot, but they do come in handy when you need them. I also like to use a crochet hook. Now, I do crochet a lot of my stuff, but even the stuff that I don't crochet. For instance, when I was learning to do these knots, because of my hand issues, I was having a hard time manipulating this into the knot. And so what I did is I just put this into the knot, wrapped the leather into it, and pulled it through. And you'll find that crochet hooks sometimes come in handy for grabbing things. And then the last thing I want to show you is very technical. It is a safety pin. Now you can use a regular pin, but I like to use a safety pin because you can close it up and then you won't poke yourself when you put it in your bag or whatever. But whenever you are tying knots and you need to feed it into something like a bead tip, or maybe you are doing a knotted necklace and you want the knot next to the bead, these are nice to have to feed the bead or the knot to where you want it to be. And you know what? I think that pretty much does it. All the things I use in order to make my jewelry. And I hope you check out my Tapping Flamingo Bling Etsy shop. And Tapping Flamingo Bling is on Facebook and Instagram too. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.